interesting anecdote come into my mind when I think about 2000 June, when I took over as the director of NID. I had gone to call on the then Minister of Commerce and Industry, Sri Murasali Balan. It was a very interesting meeting. As the fifth director of NID, I seek an appointment with the minister and go to his room. And he asked me, Dr. Ghoshi, have you seen the latest Time magazine? I said that, sir, I have not been able to see it. He calls his office and gets this magazine and shows me a waste paper basket was on the front of the cover of the Time magazine and well designed. And he says that, look, a waste paper basket is on the Time cover, designed by probably IDEO or whichever American design firm, and it is making waves in the US. And there is a big story in this, you must read this. So what are you going to do as director of NID? Are you going to get some product of India where we can be proud of? Is there any product which has been designed in India which has become a major attraction across the world? Is there something which you can do in the next few years? This question and this whole conversation certainly set the tone of me seeking more, to understand more about how can we connect design with business. It is not only then that I thought about it, but I was very impressed with the honorable ministers, late ministers, being so current and contemporary about what he was going to interact in the first meeting. And there are therefore very good lessons to be learned sometime, that this kind of casual conversations can set the tone for an entire tenure, because many people do not know the context of certain actions later taken. Now just to go back in time, when NIFT was introducing the National Institute of Fashion Technology as a college of design, business and technology. It was just borrowed from the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, which had the same kind of byline, a college of design, business and technology. But when you look at it, has been a very interesting travel, and it has not been that easy. Because when design became the first course to be introduced in NIFT in '87, and later the other courses followed in 1988, the garment manufacturing technology and apparel marketing and merchandising. One would see that there was a big understanding or a deficiency in understanding that what kind of a business is what design is going to connect or fashion is going to connect with. Whether it is going to be designing for the buyers for the export market, or is it creating brands for the domestic market, or is it the designers who make couture and bridal fashions and their own threads are going to then become designer labels which are famous world over. What was the real intent? And one of the things which we had to face in the course of time was the apparel marketing and merchandising itself was said to be a kind of conundrum, so to say, that why is it that this kind of a course be there in a design institute? First of all, it was said that MBA programs are there plenty in the country and they could look after the business of fashion. But one of the major things which we argued at that point in time was that the 4 P's of marketing are really not really applicable to fashion, because fashion is all in the mind and it is always related to the time dimension, and therefore perishability of fashion being linked to the body in terms of emotions and being a part of a time dimension which is critically important in creating premium are not really typical of Colgate or a toothbrush or toothpaste or soaps which are sold typically in the shelves through the MBA courses at that point in time. This led to a battle almost. No sooner the course started in 1988. It did not take much time. I think it was in 1989. A board meeting of NIFT almost decided that why don't we close the program of marketing, because it may be not required. It is not going to have much traction. But as good sense prevailed, it is history now that the course not only succeeded, and if you looked at it, was the first events which was created at that point in time. For example, Brandomania, where brands were connected to the ramp, not the designers, but the brands which are in India at that point in time were connected on the ramp. And similarly, we had major, innovations at that point in time to bring the design or the fashion to the business world. Now, this succeeded on both counts. One was that we were able to bring in the apparel summit, for example, which was held initially for exports, and later another version was added called Apparel Retail Summit, which was the harbinger of all kinds of summits in the country later. In fact, it was the NIFT-initiated Apparel Export Summit and Apparel Retail Summit, which were the harbingers of later big events which were taken up by the magazines and celebrated across. But the design or the fashion getting connected to the business became a theme in the organized retailing, which was beginning to get momentum at that point in time, along with the number of designers coming to the market, and they're not necessarily finding the kind of jobs in an export company, but more to do with domestic brands which were beginning, or domestic retail which were beginning to happen. So the connect happened to some extent. I would have expected that over the period more businesses really become design oriented in fashion, and there are now good examples. I don't want to take the names on a public program like this, but I would say that the effect of design revolution through the Fashion Institute, which propelled through the apparel marketing and merchandising course and the fashion design course, became visible to the domestic industry, certainly much more than in the export industry. The fact that many of the top CEOs today, whether it is of Raymond, whether it is of the Levi's, earlier in Jabong, or in Benetton, or in many companies like Cover Story, they are all from the apparel marketing and merchandising program, one is proud to say, and Nike in Bangalore, almost all of them, and several such companies in buying houses. You will find profusion of those alumni really doing well. Now, coming to the design story, it is even more difficult to really link it, because when I became director, I had a meeting with the various departments, and I had asked them, how many companies are you in touch with? How many of them are actually registering your designs? But luckily at that point in time, I remember, I recall the name as Sushant Jena. He made a very, very impressive, cooker head for the kitchen use, for the kitchens where the gas stove or gas burner. And this was, to my eyes, he had done a remarkable work. And there was already a faculty member, Mr. Gauran Shah, who was helping the student in terms of ideation, in terms of perfecting that technology and the design, and the connect of the technology and the design. And it had come out quite well. And it was the first brush with how to translate a design from an institute to the marketplace, which happened at that point in time. And we looked at that, and I remember one of the companies, I don't want to name the company, finally coming and buying the design at rupees 6 lakhs, if I recall. And that led to an intellectual property regime being introduced in the National Institute of Design. But much more than that, later it led to creation of the National Design Business Incubator. But I just want to also say that it could not have happened without bringing the designs onto the forefront.